Welcome to the Management and Leadership Practice Education Preceptor Orientation for the UBC Dietetics Undergraduate Program. UBC Vancouver is located on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam people. Musqueam territory and all the people who have lived on Musqueam land were around thousands of years before UBC was built. The photo you see here is a carved post, which was carved by Musqueam artist Brent Sparrow Jr. in celebration of UBC's centennial year, 2016. It represents the origin story of the Musqueam people, and if you're interested in learning more, you can check it out at the link that we posted on the slide in white. By the end of today's orientation, we hope you can walk away with a clear sense of the course instructors for the Management and Leadership Placement, which has the course code FNH 481, as well as a sense of the program's vision, mission, values in the context of practice education. And the bulk of today's session will really be intended to orientate preceptors specifically to the management and leadership aspects of the program practice education placements. We're going to wrap up by sharing where and how you can learn more if you still have questions. I'm Tamar Kafka. Ali Browse and myself are here today, and we are two of the UBC dietetics educators with the Dietetics Undergraduate Program. We're really fortunate to have 5 course instructors for this course. So in addition to myself and Ali, we have Kara Vogt Gordon-Lee and Bruno Donati Castro Falsi, and we're all part of the dietetics undergraduate team. As educators with the dietetics program at UBC, we're also course instructors, including for the management and leadership placements that you're going to be precepting for. So ultimately, there are 5 of us who can be your direct contacts for anything to do with placement planning and student activities the time they're doing their placements with you. The UBC Dietetics program is committed to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion for the program, for our students, and then ultimately for the dietetics profession. This is a picture of some of our dietetics students who are in the undergraduate class of 2024, and they're a reminder of the wonderful and talented students that we get to work with and to learn from each day in the program. We're all coming to precepting with personal, social, and structural biases, some implicit or unconscious. And I wanted to mention this in order to recognize that who we are and our journey of life experiences will likely influence our perspective and approach to precepting. We've had 2 equity, diversity, and inclusion consultants review our dietetics program, and we've been able to make substantial changes to almost every aspect of the program to enhance fairness and address some of the inequities in the processes. There's always more work to do, and we're certainly not finished. Some of the perspective For some perspective from practice education placements, more than 1/3 of our students have circumstances that influence where and how they do their placements. And this is an important reflection of the varied lives and experience and abilities of our students. We have a policy for the UBC Dietetics undergraduate program called Respectful Learning Environments. And in that policy, we define respectful learning environments as those that are welcoming to participants with diverse lived experiences, actively anti-racist, and committed to improvement. These environments are free from all forms of discrimination, bullying, or harassment. The program takes concrete steps to encourage and enable respectful learning environments in all program activities. And we're sharing this policy with you today. We're also talking to our undergraduate students about this during their course orientation. We'd welcome you to review the policy, as we will be upholding it throughout practice educations. And we expect students and preceptors to honor this in the way that they engage with each other and interact with each other. The policy does define and interprets an understanding of respectful learning environments and any actions that can be taken in the event that you or a student observes or experiences mistreatment with regards to program activities. The dietetics program has a vision and mission statement, as well as core values, and they all provide a foundation to the program's commitment to advancing equity, diversity, and inclusion as it relates to the program's vision of inspiring learners to advance dietetic practice and food systems. So our core values are justice, integrity, inclusion, collaboration, and community focus, and they drive the program's approach to planning, program delivery, evaluation, and community engagement. You can find these on our website as well. I wanted to make specific mention of the use of personal gender pronouns. We wanted to highlight that students may share their pronouns with you and that you please respect and correctly use your students' pronouns. Some students may introduce themselves and directly share their pronouns, but many students might not. It is a privilege to not have to worry about which pronoun someone is going to use for you based on how they perceive your gender, and failing to respect someone else's gender identity can or will dramatically impact their experience in practice education and likely beyond. So we've shared some examples here of how you might want to consider inviting students to comfortably share their own gender pronouns. However, there could also be reasons why someone might not want to share their pronouns, which is their choice as well. So options in that case is to use their name in places of a pronoun, or use they, them for anyone who has not explicitly shared their gender identity. We've also included some resources here for you on the slide in case you're interested in learning more. In terms of the structure of practice education, the students who will be in the management and leadership placements, all of them have completed all of the courses in the program, the campus-based courses. So all of our students who will be in management and leadership placements are in the practice education portion of their undergraduate program. Typically, the management and leadership placements are done by students who have just completed their year 4 courses. This year, because we're in a transition year, we also have students who are completing year 5. So as I will share with you on the next slide, we're in a transition year with the program changes. So this spring, we're going to have students in both years 4 and 5 completing management and leadership placements at the same time. So for the rest of today's orientation, we are specifically going to be focusing on the placements that you're preceptors for in management and leadership in May and June 2023. This is the first time that dietetics students will be completing management and leadership placements in the new program model. As I just mentioned, because this is a program transition year and we have both year 4 and 5 students completing the placements at the same time, we do have a large cohort of 76 students doing their management and leadership placements at the same time. As I said, they've all completed all of their campus-based courses, so the only difference between the year 4 and 5 students is the number of practice education placements that they've actually completed. So Allie is now going to give you some details about the actual management and leadership placements.
Thanks, Tamar. So in the next several slides, my hope is that I can review the key features of this placement so that you as preceptors feel comfortable and prepared to support a student placement starting in mid-May. I want to make sure that everyone is familiar with the course structure, the course learning outcomes, the learning activities and assignments, how learning is assessed, and then finally the expectations for both students and preceptors. And as a reference, you might find it helpful to look at the FNH 481 course syllabus that's found on our website. And again, we'll send out some links after. So what is the structure of the course? This is a 6-week course and it runs from May 15th to June 23rd of this year. The first day that students are in placements with you is actually May 16th, and that's because they will be attending a UBC-led orientation on the first day of the course. Students are typically on site or could be working virtually with practice education partner organizations Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then they engage in virtual learning with their UBC course instructors on Thursdays. And students have been informed that in some placement settings, preceptors could work on the weekends. And if this is the case, then they typically work the same hours as their preceptors as well. But it should be for only a total of 4 days with their preceptors. And then again, Thursday is their required day to attend UBC-led orientation, or UBC-led education, and so that they are not on site with their preceptors on Thursdays. And just to elaborate a little bit more on the course structure, I wanted to emphasize that because it is a 6-week placement, this does allow time for students to get orientated to the placement setting and their preceptor's role at the beginning, and then really have some time to work more on learning activities and assignments throughout the course of the 6 weeks. So next I want to highlight the course learning outcomes. So the learning outcomes have been developed using the integrated competencies for dietetic education and practice. And this is a specific document that outlines all the entry to practice expectations for dietetic students. The ICDEP document really outlines specific competencies and performance indicators, and they have been grouped and condensed into these 9 learning outcomes for the management and leadership course students are doing. And students should have the opportunity to demonstrate each of these 9 learning outcomes in a variety of different ways throughout their placement with you. And again, we'll elaborate on that in more detail shortly. For those of you that have supported dietetic students in the past, you'll notice that the learning outcomes and the placement evaluation forms are much shorter and condensed from previous versions. I'm going to pause for a moment just to allow you to take a look at the 9 learning outcomes on the screen here. And I'm going to elaborate on the first 2 particularly as we go on. So next on, we're going to move on to how students are going to demonstrate that they're meeting the course learning outcomes. In the management and leadership placements, students contribute to projects and service delivery, as well as completing UBC-led assignments in order to demonstrate to both you as preceptors and us as instructors that they have met the course learning outcomes. With regards to placement activities, the intention really is for students to participate in activities and projects that preceptors already do as part of their work, not to create additional hypothetical projects for students that really results in additional workload or resource reallocation for preceptors. And today I really want to focus on the preceptor assigned placement activities and projects and make sure everyone is familiarized with this management and leadership placement project guidance resource, which you can find on our website. And we'll make sure that you can find the link on the document here, or else we'll send that off to all of our preceptors as well. So I'm going to walk through this management and leadership project guidance document a bit more and spend time highlighting some important learning activities. So for the first learning outcome, I really wanted to spend some time on how students will contribute to management of projects, programs and/or projects. So this is obviously a pretty big learning outcome. And as you will see on the screen here, there are actually 4 topics that we need students to cover to fully demonstrate this learning outcome. So the 4 topics include, number 1, contributing to strategic and operational planning. 2, contributing to human resource management. 3, contributing to financial management. And 4, contributing to physical resource management. On this document, you'll see that we've included a number of examples of how students could demonstrate these 4 learning outcomes here. And if you are finding that you're struggling to support a student to meet one of these areas within your practice area, then please reach out to us as a course instructor and we can help brainstorm topics with you or find alternative ways for students to meet these learning outcomes. I'm going to hand it over to Tamar for the research skills here.
The next piece of learning outcome we wanted to highlight was was the second one, which is to use practice-based research skills to assess and enhance dietetic practice. So if you take a look at pages 3 to 5 of the Management and Leadership Placement Project Guidance documents, there's actually additional information to support students and yourselves as preceptors on how to use practice-based research skills to assess and enhance dietetic practice in a way that walks students and you through the specific steps that students should be doing to complete each component of this of the research skills competencies. So you can see the process that students will need to work through for this project at the bottom of the screen. They're going to need to frame a research question, critically appraise the literature, identify relevant methodology, interpret findings, and then communicate findings. Specifically for communicating findings, students are going to be presenting their findings in weeks 5 or 6 of class on Thursdays with UBC course instructors and their peers. And you may also wish to arrange another opportunity for them to present in the practice setting as well, if that's something you're interested in. Now, like I said, there's structure embedded into the course that we have created to help them through this project. We don't expect that you, as their preceptors, need to have any specific research skills in order for students to be able to meet this learning outcome. Your primary responsibility will be to help them identify a project or a topic that would be helpful for them to explore based on your practice area. So students will then use their assignment instructions and the various resources that they are provided as part of the course to go through the stages that you can see on the screen. We also have a couple of weeks of dedicated Thursday class time to specifically support the students in the research skills project, skills and steps. So the research skills learning outcome is intended to be addressed by projects that students are already completing with you as part of their management and leadership placement. There really is no need for a separate research project just to meet this learning outcome, unless something comes to mind for you that you would like to explore in your work area that's not specifically already a part of a project that students are working on. So if you want to start thinking about topics or research questions before your students arrive, you can take a look at the examples management and leadership placement project ideas, because we've listed quite a few project ideas there for students to be able to. You'll see that most of them are exploratory questions and that they would lend themselves to a literature search as relevant methodology. So we expect that most of the projects will be thorough literature searches on practice-based topics. If you happen to have data available already and you're looking for some help to do analysis, that could also be an option. Or if you have an idea for a very short audit of services or resources that you interact with regularly, that could be another project idea. There's not time in the 6 weeks to get ethics approval, so any projects have to be achievable in the time frame of the placement and without needing ethics approval. So for specific guidance on the research skills learning outcomes, I guess in summary, in addition to the management and leadership placement project guidance document, there is a dedicated assignment and form or template that students need to use to help guide them through the steps of the research skills project. And there's dedicated time during their Zoom classes where we will be supporting students through the research skills that will help them to complete these projects. And again, as I said prior, your primary responsibility is highlighted in the green star on this slide, which is to help identify a research question with students. And we really do encourage you to think about projects students will already be working on and to determine a research question connected to one of those. The research skills project is not a full research project in and of itself where students need to do research proposals or get ethics approval. The projects do need to be completed pretty quickly. In the last 2 weeks of the course, students will be communicating and presenting their research projects to each other. So it really does need to be completed in a maximum of the 6-week placement time. If you're thinking about what types of research questions that you could ask, feel free to do some brainstorming yourself. Allie or I can also meet with you at any time. We can also meet with a student early in the placement to help your students work through potential research questions or projects to connect it to. Reach out at any time if you feel like you could use some help thinking through the research skills project. And over to Allie.
So we've highlighted some specific learning activities specifically for the learning outcomes 1 and 2 in more detail. Next, I wanted to just highlight the final placement learning outcomes 3 to 9 all together here. And again, this is found on the management and leadership resource document that we've introduced already. So for learning outcome number 3, engaging in advocacy to improve nutritional health and care, students will be completing a UBC-led assignment to demonstrate this learning outcome. For this assignment, students will need to identify an advocacy issue in their placement setting and produce a proposal to address the advocacy issue. Depending on the placement setting, students may also participate in implementing some of the actions from their proposal if feasible. And then for learning outcome number 4, demonstrating cultural safety and inclusive attitudes and behaviors, students will also be completing an assignment to demonstrate this learning outcome. In the assignment, students will take on the perspective of a manager or leader, and they will identify some strengths and opportunities to advance health equity and or cultural safety in healthcare and our food systems. The final learning outcomes 5 to 9 are learning outcomes that should naturally be included in the placement as part of activities and projects that students are already completing. It is not expected that preceptors would need to design specific projects to meet these learning outcomes, but rather just observe and share feedback with students on how they are making progress on them in the placement. And then next, I'm going to talk about how learning is assessed. So this is what part of this new student performance evaluation looks like. It's quite different than what you may have seen in the past if you've been a preceptor for a program before. Some of the key differences with this form is that it is entirely student-led and completed. There's no preceptor portion of the form to fill out. The student completes the form at both the midpoint and the final evaluation, and they set up a meeting with the preceptor to review it and seek feedback on it before submitting it to the UBC course instructor. There are no longer any more ratings or rankings of performance. However, if at any point you have concerns with a student's performance and we ask that you let us know as soon as possible. So we want to have conversations about it. We really do consider your feedback really importantly, and you'll notice on the first page of the evaluation form in the big red box there is a note that, again, this formal evaluation process is not meant to replace the regular timely feedback, and we encourage that throughout the placement from you. And again, if things are not going as planned, please reach out to us as soon as possible. We have additional methods of documenting and describing if there are performance concerns with the students so that we can do our best to support them and you as well. What are the expectations for students? So students are expected to participate in the assigned placement activities and projects. We expect them to be self-directed. We expect that they are developing their management and leadership skills, and again, that they initiate and lead the evaluation process. We also expect that they will communicate to us early if they have any concerns about if they may not be able to demonstrate placement learning outcomes in their placement. And then expectations for preceptors. Expectations are that there's an environment created to support student learning and again, encourage self-directedness. help assign placement activities and projects based on the work that you are doing already. There's an expectation that you'll share performance feedback with them throughout the placement so that they can continue to learn and develop their skills, and then to contribute to the learning outcome evaluation. So although it is student-led, your feedback to them and to us is very important for the process as well too. And then again, finally, to get in touch with us as early as possible if you do have any concerns.
This slide has some key resources for your reference as we plan to post. We will be posting these online, and you can access them, the links easily after you listen to the recording. And in the future, if you need them as you have students with you in practice education. So thank you for being on this journey with us and listening to the recording of the preceptor orientation. A lot of the changes we have made are a result of the feedback we've heard from preceptors and also from students over the past few years. And we do have a preceptor experience survey that we will be sending out towards the end of placement so that we can capture your experiences close to when they happen. And be sure that we create opportunity for all of you to give feedback. So we're looking forward to your feedback at that point in time as well. So thank you for listening to Preceptor Orientation and also for supporting the UBC Dietetics undergrad students during their placements.